You've cleaned out your closet, you've bought all the right basics, you've watched the haul videos, the 10 must-have essential videos, and the beloved how to have effortless style videos. And yet, after all of that, you still don't like your outfits. So, let's fix that. Let's fix it good.
This is high class, see the high step. I see it so clear, streaming high def. Tell them make room on the top shelf. I heard it's only one spot left. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the elegance.
One of my biggest pet peeves is when people say you either have it or you don't, in any sort of context, but especially when it comes to styling an outfit. Yes, some people might have a knack for styling and it makes it a little bit easier to have that effortless style, but I also used to have a knack for staying up till 12 o'clock at night and sleeping in till God knows when. But then, with awareness, routine, practice, and consistency, I then became a person who goes to bed at 9 o'clock every night and wakes up at 5 every day. Anything that's within your control is able to be changed. So, styling an outfit in a confident, effortless way is within your control. But in order to get to the effortless part, you do have to put in a bit of effort. And that is why I am here, to make that effort a little easier. And to make sure you never have to utter the words again, I don't like this outfit. So, let's break it down.
Welcome to the elegance.
So first off, we need to answer the question, why? Why do you not like your outfit? Because then we can fix it by answering the problem. I think the first why is there's no intention. It's what do we want to communicate to the world? And I think if you don't have that sort of intention of kind of like, who am I? What am I trying to say with this outfit? It's sort of like a painter going in to paint an art piece and not really knowing what mood or emotion they want to communicate to the world. It ends up being mediocre or sort of generic art when there isn't really anything behind it. And I think it's the same with an outfit. If you don't have that sort of clear intention, it's no wonder you're sort of indifferent or not excited about the outfit. So let me give like a personal example, because I feel like that will kind of better communicate what I'm trying to say here right now. I have always been into style. I've always been into fashion. And I definitely say in my teens, I was very much, like experimenting all of that. But in my 20s, I was sort of influenced a lot by my peers about the male gaze, or the brands that I was working for and kind of fitting in with their sort of aesthetic, which is fine. It was kind of an experimenting time. But then in my late 20s, early 30s, I started to discover that I felt best when I sort of just embraced this messy girl vibe, but combined with like my love for classics and refinement and like that sophistication. And it sort of became this sort of signature for me. And it kind of then began my journey into what I would now call edgy classic. And that's kind of how I would best describe my style these days. Still, kind of incorporating that messy girl in there, because I think there was an element for me that just felt sort of like communicating this, like I can be messy, I can be, laid back, I can be chill, but I can also be very refined and focused and sharp when I need to be. And I think combining those two sides really empowered me and elevated me further. And I really enjoyed how that then was perceived by others. So it's just kind of what continues to be my intention. It then allows for me to have that direction, and I know exactly where I'm headed when I'm putting together an outfit. So what is the fix for this? Well, I think for me, what was kind of the changing point was figuring out that I loved contrasts. So that really helped me in everything I did with an outfit. I was like, okay, my outfit feels very casual. How can I contrast that? So I think a little tool you can use is try to find two characters within your personal style, two characters that you really like. And if you can't find two characters that you like, I would say then that's kind of an opportunity to search for those characters and experiment a little bit. But ultimately, having two characters that maybe contrast each other, because then it brings in that balance, it brings in that elevation, it brings in that interest and a little bit more personality. So if your vibe is casual, if that's like a big part of your style, like let's say you're a mom who needs that sort of functional casual, so then maybe it's thinking about your other character, like who is your other character that you're gonna then combine with that casual function. Maybe it's chic casual, maybe it's edgy casual, maybe it's feminine casual, maybe it's glam casual, whatever it may be, but just kind of figuring out those two characters that are each other's counterpoints that you can always sort of refer back to and think about when you're putting together an outfit. And with that, it gives you that direction, it gives you that intention, and therefore creates a better outfit.
Yeah, I'm ice cold, freeze. Give me a little more, please. Fly like the birds and the bees. Pose for the pic, cheese. Say cheese, say cheese. Pose for the pic, cheese. Say cheese, say cheese. Pose for the pic, cheese.
The next why you might not like your outfit is you're too worried about your body shape. Yeah, I know, I'm gonna upset a lot of people with this one, I think. So I think it's great to be aware of your body shape and your measurements, height, etc. But I think obsessing whether or not you're apple, inverted, rectangle, hourglass, whatever else there is, it's a waste of your time, it's a waste of your energy, your emotions to worry about that kind of stuff, because at the end of the day, it just does not matter. So your body shape is God-given, right? Or mama-given, rather. So you can't change it. It is something you cannot change. So you just need to accept it and move on. But clothes are not finite. Clothes can be manipulated into whatever shape we need them to be. So the goal is not to dress for your body shape. The goal is to create the shape you want by using proportions. So the fix, I'm going to give you 3 portion rules or 3 portion approaches that are basically fail-proof. And if you remember these 3 rules, you ultimately will always love your outfit, or your outfit will always be flattering, at least. And it will take a lot of that guesswork out, because I think a lot of times, I know I've been there, you put on an outfit and you're like, why does this not look good on me? Like, what is it? What is it about this outfit? Like, in my head, it all made sense. But now on that I have it on, it doesn't make sense. But when you know these 3 rules or these 3 approaches, it kind of takes that guesswork out, because you can always refer to these 3 and figure out what the problem is and what needs to be done. So the first one is my favorite, and I mentioned it in the last video, and that is the 2/3 rule. So it can be 2/3 of the proportion of the outfit on the bottom, or 2/3 of the proportion on the top. It creates a certain visual flow and elongates rather than kind of cutting you off at 50-50. This is why I love high-waisted jeans, because it automatically gives me that 2/3 proportion, and I'm always making sure I'm showing that waistline, and it always then elongates my legs and gives the illusion of being taller, and just ultimately makes the outfit a lot more interesting and flattering. No matter what your body shape is, the 2/3 proportion will work for you. And within that, you can then manipulate the shape however you want. The next one is the 50-50 proportion, but only with contrast. So like I said, 50-50 proportion isn't always the most flattering. So if you are going to use the 50-50 proportion, then it's key to make sure you're using sort of contrasting shapes. So that could be barrel jeans with like an oversized boxier sweater. It could be, you know, a tapered jean with a boxier sweater. Maybe it's a structured, crisp white button up with a pair of sweatpants. It's just sort of always thinking about like, okay, how am I contrasting this? Am I contrasting it by shape? Am I contrasting it by structure? Even if you're contrasting with texture, it can help. So the next one is a very simple one, and that is the long line. So whether it's a long column of color, maybe it's a long sweater, a long coat, maybe it's a monochrome outfit. This also works for like that 50-50 proportion, you know, trying to have a long line in there somehow. But ultimately, it's just giving the eye that illusion of length. I don't know what it is, but the eye loves balance. The eye loves length. I don't know. It's just human nature for whatever reason. Knowing these proportions has revolutionized my outfits. More so than anything, my sanity, you know, when I'm putting together an outfit and I'm knowing these things, because if I put an outfit on and I'm like, this just feels off, like, what is it? I can usually boil it down to an issue that isn't falling in line with one of these proportions. And I can then easily address it or easily fix it. But more often than not, I would say I don't even get to that point because I already know when I'm putting together an outfit that I need to use one of these proportions within that outfit. So stop dressing for body type or body shape and start dressing for the proportions that you want. And when you do that, you'll stop seeing flaws and start seeing opportunities.
See, I came to flex, confidence up to my neck. 100% ain't nothing less. Everybody quiet on the set. I'm ice cold, freeze. Give me a little more, please. Fly like the birds and the bees. Pose for the pic, cheese. Say cheese, say cheese. Pose for the pic, cheese. Say cheese, say cheese. Pose for the pic, cheese. Mirror, 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 who the freshest?
So I feel like I've given you a lot already with this video, a lot to think about, right? Once intention and proportions are in place, styling gets a lot easier. Combine that with what we spoke about last week in creating that identity, you have a great foundation to get started. So let's leave it there for now. And in 2026, I want to help you build forward and truly be able to master to the core the art of effortless style. All right, my friends, that is it for me for 2025. I'll be seeing you next year.
Pose for the pic, cheese. Say cheese, say cheese. Pose for the pic, cheese. Say cheese, say cheese. Pose for the pic, cheese.